Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
Hey, listeners. Today we are chatting with mixologist Danielle Goldtooth, zooming in from New Mexico. Danielle, thanks for being our guest today.
Of course. Thank you for the invite. Always happy to get on these things and see how people are doing and what their questions are. They're always so busy. I don't know.
I'm so excited for our listeners to learn about what you and your husband are doing. And I think to get a better understanding of what you guys do, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about your upbringing in New Mexico.
Most definitely. Actually, I have my grandparents here. I stay with my grandparents right now in the summertime. My husband and I do. We very close relation with our family or with my family. I come from a matriarchal society in the Diné people. And I was brought up in a way that's very different even from our Diné people. I was kind of more of a what we call a border town girl. I had the best of both worlds, I guess you could say. So I have an idealistic view of both what Western society can hold and also what our traditions and cultures have. I grew up with my stepfather, who I consider my dad. He graduated MIT and came out this way and became a huge influence in my life as far as academic, educational, and the types of people that they brought around and such. But growing up, it was a back and forth. In the evening times, we would be living in Farmington, New Mexico, which was just a 45-minute drive. And just a little bit west from Farmington is Shiprock, New Mexico, which is considered a border town on the reservation. And I went to school there. It's also where I got my first college degree in general science and biology, actually. And I continued my education, starting off in agriculture. And then during that time, wanting to pay for school and such, I started bartending. And the rest is history. I fell in love with hospitality and I never looked back. I almost got a degree in biochemistry from the University of New Mexico, and that just wasn't in the cards for me. I enjoyed what I did already and just saw myself making a career out of it and just decided to go headlong. Ended up moving into Arizona because I saw more opportunities for hospitality, specifically in the bartending realm, and just kind of went forward with that. While still keeping connection with my heritage and our agricultural roots out this way. I met my husband about 5 years ago at the Breadfruit and Rum Bar in downtown Phoenix. Unfortunately, is no longer, so we are kind of the legacy graduates of that place, if you could say. And from there, we went down food sovereignty. When COVID hit and everything just started shutting down one by one, the little place that I was at, unfortunately, didn't make it. And so we started working with foster students or foster children through the Scott Foundation. And from there, we met up with some really wonderful people and really got back down into where does our food come from? Why don't a lot more people know about these things? Because when we started seeing things disappear off of the shelves, off of, there was a time where we couldn't get meat, where there was like a huge rush for people to just stock up on supplies and such. And even though our food supply chain was never necessarily in trouble at the local level, and that was something that always kind of baffled me a bit. Why don't we know where our food comes from a little bit more? And so we started on this trek of food sovereignty, first to figure out what it takes to feed a family, just ourselves, and then to figure out what it takes to feed an entire community. So after about 1.5 years of kind of trying to struggle with what hospitality looks like and realizing that we were a part of the class of hospitality, that we were going to have to look and reimagine what the future was going to be of hospitality, we decided to go through this food sovereignty trek. And we're still continuing that to this day. Now we're doing pop-ups and such, but we really talk about where I became a slaughter woman. My husband was the knocker and the butcher at a place because he's also a chef. And we were able to bring meat to the market under this small company, a family-owned company's name. And then from there, about a year and a half after honing those skills, we moved on to move back here to the reservation to learn the cultural practices behind our agriculture, to learn how to do some things that maybe I had forgotten or needed some reinvigorating to learn again. And that's where our journey is right now. We're relearning a lot of our own agricultural histories, as well as seeing how much boarding schools really actually affected what the traditional knowledge has been, and bringing in something that's a little bit different in what we've named Steam Corn Punk. We've taken on Aspen Bingham as one of our business partners, and we're really excited to have her. I hope she listens to this and I can give her a huge shout out. She's our Chief Sustainability Officer, as well as she calls herself our miscellaneous, because we're so busy doing the physical labor on the farms and such that she's like, I'm just your miscellaneous, but she's a lot more than that. She helps us navigate the sustainability realm. She helps us navigate how we're doing behind the bar, looking at products. And my husband and her get together and they look at products that we're using in the kitchen and in the bar to be able to put things together there. And really building this really beautiful program that we're hoping to have a brick and mortar for in the next year or year and a half. And that's going to be called Steam Corn Punk. And I have to tell you a little bit about that, because I'm really excited about this entire project that we have going right now. So it really came down to, we wanted to become educators for our food system and to really bridge the gap to be able to educate people to become new American caretakers. And in that realm, we've learned that hospitality absolutely can change the world. I've seen it numerous times. While I was at the Bread, Fruit, and Rum Bar, you would see people coming in and learning about where their catch of fish was coming from, sometimes even the boat that it was coming off of, the lines that they were using, what type of fishing they were using. And it really opened my eyes and my husband's eyes to be able to see food in a language that is, it's almost like mole. If you know chemistry at all, you know, you have mole where it just it can translate from like liters to milliliters to different types of things, and it's just kind of like the it's the part of our culture that everybody can understand and everybody can appreciate. And I think that that's something that's really beautiful, because hospitality is that center point. We're able to express ideas and teach in a manner that people are willing to accept. And that's something that we're really working on to this day, through our foraging, through our farming, through our ranching practices, going and learning about all of these things from the actual farmers themselves, learning about permaculture and putting that into place. That all is all encompassing of Steam Corn Punk. The name itself actually has a funny little story to go with it too. We came up with the term transcontinental culinary synthesis as our defining parameters of what it is that we're trying to do. And what it means is there used to be a trade system or a trade route out in Asia going through Europe. And for whatever reason, that trade system didn't extend out to the North America, South America, Canada. Instead, we ended up with a culture of taking. We ended up with a colonial culture, and that reciprocity for culture was lost at that point. I feel like that is the defining point in our culture in a worldwide view of whether or not we were going to become a trade economy or if we're going to become a different type of culture. And that's where we are now. We have a harder time figuring out how to appreciate each other. And so we had to take that several steps back. I'm a huge fan of Sean, I believe Sherman, his last name is. He's a Lakota chef, does amazing work for decolonization and land back in South Dakota. And he stops at post-colonial food. He only does post-colonial food. What we're doing is taking that imagination, saying, okay, colonialism didn't happen. Well, people were always going to end up coming here. So what did that trade look like? What did good trade look like? And we're imagining that through hospitality and the food and the ingredients. And one of those big ingredients that we have is corn. So if we imagined a route where all of the corn had grown and how those cultures could have been intermingled, or how they already did and they aren't appreciated for that. That's where we're really kind of looking to take this brick and mortar, to kind of take a a lens of time that isn't here, and just really imagine that through a different lens of how can we do this, and through that thought exercise, come up with new ideas for how we can envision this new future together with technology, with the cultural exchange, and through hospitality. So that's kind of the things that we're doing right now.
That is
That's
so
awesome.
fascinating and impressive. And I don't know if you're familiar, Padma Lakshmi. I know I'm saying her last name wrong, but she did a series about, she would talk about food from indigenous peoples. And when we watched that, we actually got super emotional because we were like, why don't we know about this? How could we have gone our whole lives and never heard of this?
This is America, but so many subcultures that we have no idea how they live, what they think, and what drives them and everything else. That is just wonderful that you're trying to bring that back to the forefront of the conversation.
Yeah, what a wonderful thing. What a wonderful thing. And so if you wouldn't mind, back up a little bit and tell me, how did you learn to forage? Because I know a lot of your dinners and your cocktails are from foraged ingredients. How'd you learn that?
So, few parts to that, actually. It started off when I was very young, learning the actual foraging practices and the ethical standpoint from my great grandmothers. So I have a great grandmother, Alice Goldtooth, and I have a great grandmother, Rebecca Johnson. Rebecca, I grew up with her as one of my main caretakers when I was younger. She was actually a daycare worker, so I got to go to daycare with her. And during that time, her and my great grandfather would take me places. And I later found out that my mom and my grandma never even knew where I was sometimes. It was really funny. So I'll bring up some of these stories and they're like, where were we? I'm like, But so she would take me out foraging first for like green thread teas and small onions and just all of these little types of food that are around this area in Shiprock. And teaching about the 1/3 or 1/2 rule. I don't know if you're familiar with that with foraging, but a lot of people say you never take more than half or you never take more than 1/3. We follow the 1/3 rule. Our 1/3 rule is one part propagation, one part for animals, one part for you. And you always make sure that to make sure that you're looking around, making sure that nobody else is taking those things from that area as well. And that's kind of the first part of being able to forage. The second part is about talking about the reciprocity of the land and about how when you are going intentionally to take something from the land, that you must leave something there for it, or to be able to not just bring something, but how are you going to help? And that help could be a physical help by picking up trash in the area. That could be an offering or a prayer, and just making that a very intentional move, because the way that we see it as most indigenous cultures see plants as plant relatives. So we see them as non-speaking people. And that's kind of the first part. That first part I learned from her. After that, it was several years before I took an interest in it again, probably after looking at my high school years. I got back into a program with Heifer Project International, and they were kind of doing exchanges and such. And my grandmother had passed not too long prior to that. And it was one of the wishes that I continue with my traditional knowledge. And so I continued seeking out teachers and seeking out people who could teach me. And a lot of those teachings that I learned from that portion were more medicinal and such that I don't really speak about in public, just to keep that plant life intact and in order, and just for those special purposes and reasonings. And then it wasn't until I was back into hospitality and started wanting to explore the Sonoran Desert. Because mind you, I'm an import over there as well. That is Tohono O'odham land, and the other folks who live out that way, indigenous peoples' lands. I am also an occupier when I go down to the southern parts of Arizona. So I had to learn from the people who had already learned, and I went out with some foragers out that way. One of my favorite books is Southwest Foraging. So if anyone's interested in learning that, there's actually groups and forums online and such. And I started off with urban foraging, actually. And that was always a real joy because you can see all of these plants and you know these plants because they're your friends and your neighbors. And being able to get they call them tunas, the nice pink kind of colored cactus fruit and such. And then from there, the interest grew and spiked, and took our children out into camping. And the more that we went out, the more that we were learning, the more that we started intentionally going and finding these places, the more we were finding other people who were doing the same thing. And it's collective knowledge. A lot of it is collective knowledge. You find certain people who know exactly how to do the foraging and such. So I wouldn't say that I am alert. I am done with my education. I will never be done with my education for foraging. And I encourage even beginners to get out there and, check it out, see what the world has to offer, and make sure that you're bringing that reciprocity back to it. As far as our dinners and such are concerned, we only do those types of dinners for anyone below. I think it's like we can do something for 40 and less, but most of the time we're getting most of our ingredients from local farmers, local ranchers. And then the foraged ingredients are more supplementary. We don't ever just feed everybody something that is just foraged. And that's more for an ethical standpoint from the land and also an ethical standpoint from us, because we're just wanting to introduce people to these flavors and understand what it is to be in Arizona, New Mexico, Four Corners region. And that's kind of where that is.
Wow.
That's very cool. How do you incorporate those then foraged plants and whatnot into your cocktails?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a couple of different ways. So when they are in season, say a plant is in season and it's known to be able to make a nice tea, what we'll do is we use preservation tactics, whether it's drying or if we decide that we want to put it into a syrup. Sometimes we'll even make it into almost like a kombucha-like state. That's usually just for ourselves because of laws and regulations that are in place. But we'll stretch this product by taking a little bit and using the essence of it. Sometimes we'll make tinctures and such out of it. So the plant product itself will probably be like a handful. But if we're able to utilize that in the preservation process, we're able to get a larger quantity utilizing the flavonoids from that.
That makes sense.
Wow, that is so cool. So for your dinners, do you pair the cocktails with the food items that your husband makes?
Absolutely. Right now, it's a all hands on kitchen. So I've actually taken on the pastry chef position at this moment, since it's just right now it's just the three of us. It's Aspen, myself, and Alan who are doing most of the dinners. We'll call on some of our hospitality pirates as needed. And we've gotten a great rapport with a lot of wonderful people out there who will jump on with dinners when they would like to, or when they're interested in seeing what's happening. We always encourage that type of learned experience where they can come on and learn some of the things from us, come through, give the hospitality to guests. And that's kind of almost one of a different type of program that we have with our friends who are in hospitality. But as far as the dinners are concerned, the way that we normally do this is we sit in kind of a roundhouse meeting, much like this, since Aspen is down in Phoenix, and we'll talk about the ingredients that we're hoping that we can use, because until a week prior to the dinner, a lot of the time we don't know exactly what's going on the plate aside from maybe the protein, and that's because we've already secured the protein from a rancher or a local farmer. And from there, we work around that protein and we're filling out the dishes with what's locally in season at that moment. And then from there, we're seeing what products can correspond between both the bar and the kitchen. And this is actually something that we did at the Breadfruit and Rum Bar, which was also very beautiful, was we had a very kitchen heavy experience for our cocktails. So the syrups, the juices, any of that is actually being hands-on first in our kitchen to be able to make sure for quality, to make sure that everything's the way that we would like it to be. And then it's pushed out to the other side. And syrups can be utilized in so many ways, as you know, in so many different parameters. And so that's that's kind of how we get it going. And then that's when the ideas start sparking, and we throw, what do you think if we did a salad with this course, or how do you think about this with this, or bubbles with, and it sounds kind of crazy sometimes. People might come in and not know what we're talking about. We're talking about wolfberries from the Sonoran Desert at this one bush there. I think it might be ready, and it just ends up being like a lot of fun. So we enjoy our process. And so yeah, if you ever come to our dinners, a lot of the time you'll see like to be determined a whole lot on our menu. So like, don't be scared. I promise it's okay.
Where do most of these dinners happen? Is that in the area where you are now in New Mexico, or in Phoenix, or both, or where are you working?
So right now we have only been doing pop-ups probably for the past year. And a majority of our pop-ups have been in collaboration with Garden Bar in downtown Phoenix. Absolutely beautiful space. Absolutely wonderful owners. The folks there are just like really wonderful. Kim has been a mentor of mine for quite some time. And she's just this, she's really community oriented, and her idea behind her bar, and actually that's where Aspen and us met, is garden to glass is kind of her concept. And it's a very beautiful concept. And she has I want to say it's a 1950s bungalow style home that they've converted. And I know they've had that place for quite some time, and it's been a hub for cocktail people for, I want to say, well over 5 or 6 years, probably more. I'm not quite sure when she's been in that building, but they've done some amazing things for the hospitality community out of that space. And it's just been really wonderful. As far as other pop-ups and such, lately we've been getting booked for private dinners more, that we haven't had time to plan our next one. So I think we're booked up until July, and we're looking at doing our next major pop-up dinner in November.
Okay. Wow. I can see why you're so popular. We definitely want to experience your cocktails and cuisine,
or bring you here.
Yes, if we could bring you here, that would be amazing.
Love that. We would love that.
I read that you said that if you haven't shook the hand of the farmer, you probably won't use their ingredients. Why is it so important to you?
A huge part of what we do isn't for us. And that's the thing. You can't have libations, you can't have clothing, you can't have the food on your table without the agriculturists. And to make sure that their family and their well-being is taken care of is really important to us. I grew up on a farm, and I don't think my grandfather ever turned a profit from his farm. And that was more on the fact that he didn't want to. It was a community effort to learn how to do the steamed corn. It was a community effort. Family would come together in order to pick the corn, utilize it for all of the different traditional foods. And he did it as a community service in order to make sure that our traditions and cultures continued. And I might cry a little bit right now, but I want to continue that work. I want to continue people who are agriculturists to be able to continue their work, and for them to be able to, put their product and their hard work on the table, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy from going forward. And right now we're working on a drip irrigation system because we don't have access to water on our land. And last year our plants got knee high when everybody else's plants were, really tall. And it's in part because we're still learning. But the other part is, just down the road, there's a gentleman and his entire family who do steamed corn, or neshjiji as it's called in Navajo, as a living. And when I see him in public settings, he is a gentleman who is well-revered elder of the community. And when you shake his hands, it is calloused. He is dirty from head to toe if he's in the season for making the neshjiji, and so are his children. And those types of the stories are what's needed for us to reconnect ourselves with the food, with the earth. Like I said, all we are is trying to translate some of these stories from the field to the glass or to the plate. And those stories are the most important part of our work, because without those stories, we would not be able to do what we're doing. Our cultures wouldn't be able to continue without our agriculture and our plant people out here being able to continue that. And that's why that part is so important. And Alan's taken that. He's non-native, but he's taken that so much to heart. And seeing farmers and everything, he grew up in the Phoenix area, and seeing the farms disappear from where he used to live and from the places around them where there used to be corn that they would go and pick as children, no longer being there. And so more and more we're seeing the efforts of our small agriculturists needing to be put on a pedestal because they deserve it.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Awesome.
What a beautiful sentiment. So important. It's just, you amaze me. It's just so amazing.
And
that
I
you're
think
doing
it's a thing that we just, as regular people, don't think about often enough, and don't cherish the fact that there are those people who are working the land and creating the things that we eat and drink every day. We need to give it more thought.
Yeah, it's something that I talk about as being a fundamental freedom that we as Americans have given up. Because we are all available and we all have the ability to grow. The fact is that we choose not to.
Right.
And that ends up being something that's a little bit more difficult sometimes to talk about it, but it comes back down to our accountability as consumers and our accountability to the people who are creating these products that are renewable products, and how we treat them on a regular basis. Going into the grocery stores and such, you see a landscape of food that has been grown with no soul, in my mind, in the way that my teachings are. And mind you, I'm not infallible to any of this. I also go to the grocery stores. Like, our plates are always gorgeous on the thing. We pick up fast food occasionally too, and that's just it's part of our lifestyle. But putting that intentionality behind how we're able to find these products, and the things that we especially really love in our food products should be food products from our region, from our area, and we should be really proud to show off these things. Like, I'm proud to be currently in the steam corn capital of the world right now, and it's just a little drive-through town, but that's our claim to fame right now.
That's
awesome.
amazing. So here in Columbus, we are a foodie town, and we're also very into cocktails. We have an amazing craft cocktail culture here, which a lot of people don't know. They think of Columbus as just a cow town, but we have an amazing cocktail culture. And one of the important things that they do here is they really put a lot of thought into their beverage programs and being environmentally conscious and, using fresh herbs. If you were to just give us one thing that you think is the most important when coming up with a responsible beverage program, what would that be?
Intentionality. That's the first thing, because that's the first step anywhere. That first step is intentionality. And that's because as you have that intention, the only thing you can do is grow and learn from there. Because your intention sets your mind. Your intention sets the pace for where you're wanting to go. And I think that as far as that intentionality goes, a lot of places have that. And I think that's really beautiful. I think where it stops is when they quit. And that's the hardest part, is that it's so easy to quit. But
Yeah.
once you have that intentionality in mind, I think that you're on the right path.
Oh, what a great answer. Amazing. Well said.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, we are so grateful to you and your husband for what you're doing. We definitely want to get you here to Columbus. We would love to partake of your cocktails and your dinner. So we've got to get that worked out. But is there anything else that you want us to know, our listeners to know about what you and your husband are doing?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. I think we covered most of it. Right now, we're working on Steam Corn Punk. We're going to be looking for a brick and mortar for that. So if any investors happen to be listening, give me a call.
Are you doing a GoFundMe or?
We're planning on doing something like that soon, but since it's just the three of us, we're in the midst right now of our planting season. So we haven't been able to get on the computer too much and get all of that going just yet. As soon as that's all set, and we get rolling with that, we're going to be putting together some pictures, and hopefully we'll be able to put that up on one of those platforms soon. I think I got the very beginnings of it done, but I haven't like done much more. That we're terrible with technology. Like I might be a millennial, but I'm an elder millennial. We're not great with these things. We might have grown up with them, but they definitely have outpaced my husband and I.
And where are you planning to have your first brick and mortar? Is that going to be where you are?
No, there are two places that we would like to do it. Phoenix and Arizona have just been so wonderful to us in the hospitality realm. We would like to give a gift back by that being our very first brick and mortar. We would like to be in the downtown Phoenix area. However, if that doesn't work out, our second choice is actually in the Verde Valley area. And that's in part because if you haven't seen Arizona wines, you're about to. They're huge. They're exploding. The wines out this way are very beautiful. I think the terroir is right there, and we're getting to a point where you're going to be seeing a lot from that specific valley. It's right in between Phoenix. You drive up to visit over to Sedona or the Grand Canyon on your way up to Monument Valley. And we would love to have visitors come in right there, build a little farm situation out that way so they could see what permaculture looks like and all of the different types of farming styles and such. And that's what we're working towards. And getting people to actually try some Arizona wines, try some Arizona libations out that way, and just really work with the land in that spot there in the Verde Valley or in downtown Phoenix. And so that's kind of what our talks are right now.
Very cool. Side note, I'm a huge Tool fan, so I know that Caduceus.
Merkin.
Yeah,
the Merkin wine.
that's
Nice.
right.
Yeah, he's got some beautiful tasting rooms up in Jerome. And if you haven't been
haven't
to
had the
Jerome,
chance to taste any of it yet, but I am a fan.
nice. Well, when you come visit, instead of camping, maybe we should just go up to Jerome.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So you invited me to do a little camping. I'm not a camper, but what is that about? Like, do you just get together a group of people and go camp to forage, or what's that about?
Oh, okay. So originally what we had planned on doing was hosting some classes to be able to teach a new American caretaker. And part of those classes that we wanted to do was to reinvigorate people to get back into nature, to start be able to do like basic foraging and such like that. We still haven't figured out how we can quite do that. And so we've been turning it more into bringing nature to people in the private dining experience. And that's called our Forage Flavor, Feral Food Forage Flavor Program. And feral foods being that they've never been to a grocery store. So it's kind of a fun little thing that we're working on that still. But we have had some very informal situations happen right after Arizona Cocktail Weekend. We had a few friends who got together and we all decided we wanted to go camping. And it just so happened that during that time, we had a friend of ours who wanted to have dinner with us. So we decided to make this extravagant, crazy setup in the desert. I mean, it was like walking up on a bunch of weird Alice Wonderland type characters in in the desert. And we did this beautiful spread right below Sunset Point. And so they got to watch this gorgeous sunset, sipping on some nice Prosecco. We had done rabbit up right over a fire right there from our friends Hostel Hair. They actually provided the rabbit for that particular dinner. Got some greens that were from the area. It was a little too early to get much else. And then did this like very beautiful spread, candlelight dinner type situation, flowers galore, because one of our friends was just had done Arizona Cocktail Weekend. And so he brought all the flowers that were left over from his stuff. And it was just the most beautiful like setup in the desert. And we all got dressed up and we had a great time.
That sounds amazing. I feel like you should collaborate with. Have you ever heard of Campfire Experience? They started here. Now they're in California, but they do glamping. They have these beautiful tents. But I feel like that would be a good collaboration for you. Wow, this has been just fascinating, and I knew it would be. I'm so glad I found out about you and that we got the chance to talk to you, Danielle. I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you so much for doing our podcast. We appreciate it so much. And we can't wait to spread the word about what you and your husband are doing. It's amazing. And keep us posted on your GoFundMe too. We'll definitely spread the word.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for spreading the word and just giving an ear to listen to. Sometimes I don't think that our work is not necessarily not important, but it's not something that people want to hear about. So it's really nice to hear really wonderful things about what we're up to and what we're doing. It's invigorating. It makes us feel really nice. And continue doing your work. I think that it's wonderful, and I can't wait to hear more from you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We
Oh,
appreciate
and
it.
maybe we could do a pop-up up your way.
Oh, that's how
We'll have
we
to
want that to happen. Seriously.
We're already talking to a few bar owners, and we're going to do what we can to make that happen.
I think it would be fantastic. Well, we'll keep in touch. We'll talk to you folks soon, and thank you again.
You. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour. Visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, special events, merchandise, and if you're looking for a gift for that special person in your life, get them a gift card to our cocktail tour. Thank you to the biographer for our original music. And please remember to drink responsibly and be cocktail curious. Cheers.
This has been a Last Call Productions production.